the chair. Other members are Ms. Jan Burrell, expert member, Mr. Ian Stapleton, expert member, Ms. Alison Small, community member. I ask the members of the panel to disclose any conflict of interest they may have in relation to any matter on the agenda today.
No conflict of interest from Jan Morell.
No conflict from Ian Stapleton.
No conflict from Alison Small.
Thank you. And I should mention that one of the submitters in 50 Botany Street, Bondi Junction, is a relative of mine, but bearing in mind the contents of that submission, I have no conflict of interest. All right, well, we'll start right in on the agenda. And the first item is indeed 50 Botany Street, Bondi Junction, demolition of the existing telecommunications tower and construction of a new monopole tower. And there are a number of speakers. I should remind all speakers today that there is a 3-minute time limit on each submission. And after 2.5 minutes, there is a bell that goes that gives you a bit of a warning. You've got half a minute to go. I would ask people to keep to their time limit. Will grant a short extension to finish off, but that will only be a short extension to anybody unless they're questions from the panel. So I'm going through my list of registered speakers, and the first one I have is Ms. L. Fumagalli. Is she present?
Yes, Dante Fumagalli, it's me. Yes.
Dante, I beg your pardon. So there are two. That's one is your partner and you're Dante, and you're from 10A Allen's Parade, Bondi Junction. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Fumagalli. Please go ahead.
Hi, I just want to mention that the EFM radiation from 5G has an impact on the health, and there is no proof that it's safe. Some argue that there is no proof it's dangerous, but this is the wrong approach, because we should prove it's safe. Like everything can get introduced, a new technology, before to release it, you need to prove it's safe. So also I want to mention that the 5G work on 60 gigahertz, which have an impact on the oxygen. It's on the way the body absorbs the oxygen, and it's kind of microwave radiation, same we have in our own microwave, which we close the door of our microwave, because it's dangerous. I don't know why we should let this 5G radiation go out. Byron Bay Council has already stopped Telestra 5G upgrade push rejected in Byron Bay. So this not the first time this happened, and it was meant to do in the heart of Mulabindi, and it's been stopped. Switzerland and Israel, they both do not allow 5G technology, and 5G technology has been created from Israel, and Israel do not allow because of concern about the safety of the people. UK judge has rejected in Gateshead Council have make the dismantle the 5G towers in California. Bay Area city blocked 5G deployments over cancer concern, and we know that in US government always used 5G in the past, 5G technology as a weapon during wars to affect the military of the other parts, and we know that people in the community are not happy about this. A lot of people, even if this went down through the lockdown, there was not much advertising what was happening, and people cannot protest much. But a lot of people, I spoke with a lot of people in our community that are not very happy. And the fact that the Australian government is allowing this technology doesn't mean it's safe, because we know in the past government allowed some horrible things like Aboriginal, Nazi, and whatever we know. So the fact that this technology can be implemented, that we are allowing them to happen, does not mean it's safe. And there is people that I know also in the area that have health issues with the tower, maybe could be caused by the tower already. And this increased radiation is a different scale. We go we touch to the level of scale of like a microwave, you know, a different scale. It's not only the intensity, have a different impact on the human body and our health. And I live close to the tower, about probably 200 meters, I would say. I'm very concerned to the health of my family, myself, and the people I love that live close by. So if anybody, I try to make everything quick and short. If anybody wanna ask me some question, you know, I'm happy to keep talking and explaining some of the points.
Thank you, Dante.
Yeah.
Any questions from the members of the panel?
No.
I should say that there were, we have had available to us for reading all of the objections made to this proposal. So we've been through them. So no questions? Thank you, Dante, for
You're
your
welcome.
submission. And thank you for being brief and keeping to time.
Thanks.
The next speaker is Tony Ann Moore. Is she present, Tony? I think I can see you. Can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can now.
Great. Okay.
Okay, so your name is Tony Ann Moore
Tony Ann Moore, yes.
from 10 Allen's Parade.
Correct, yes.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'm going to keep mine very short and brief and to the point. I agree with everything that Dante has commented on, but the same goes for me. I just feel that every study that I've looked at that's available online, there's no studies that really show that at 60 gigahertz for continuous exposure, that it's safe to the human body. So until then, I really just don't have any trust or faith that it's not going to affect the human body, because I haven't seen one yet. So if someone can show me one, that would be great. A study that shows that it's safe, and they're just not out there. So I don't think that it's fair to roll out something that's unproven that it's safe to our communities.
Right.
And that's
as I understand the application, and there will be a consultant present from the applicant, will be able to ask questions. The tower that's presently there and has been there for many years, as you know, because you're a local to it.
yeah, very close.
It uses 3G and 4G. The new tower will use 4G. We can ask, but as I understand it, there's no immediate proposal to use 5G, though they won't rule that out. That's my understanding, but we can ask the planning consultant from Telstra what the intentions are.
Well, as far as I can tell, that 4G is not safe either. Well, it hasn't been proven. I rephrase that. It hasn't been proven that that's safe for the human body either. So, and as I've said, all the studies that I've looked at, they all the studies are lower gigahertz, and they are for very short exposures. There's no studies out there showing higher frequencies and for continuous use, and showing that it's unharmful to the human body, that it causes no harm. So yeah, which I think is a pretty valid that you would want to have that proven to you in order to have it rolled out.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Yes, please go ahead, Mr. Safer.
As I understood it, you were making, the submitter was making a distinction between 5G and 6 gigahertz. Is that correct?
5G, well, what I've looked at online, that most appliances run at 60 gigahertz.
60 or 6?
60.
So your specific query is querying whether 60 gigahertz is safe.
No, not really, because all of the tests that I've looked at, they've looked at in the ranges of like 10 gigahertz and things like that. So it's quite a jump going from a study that shows 8 gigahertz and 10 gigahertz to anywhere on the range, really. And as I said, all the studies that I've looked at, the exposures are only for very short periods. They don't prove that it's safe for continuous periods, that we're continuously exposed to it. So,
But the question I'm trying to
believe, yes, sorry.
The question I'm trying to ask is, your concern is about the use of 60 gigahertz as opposed to the use of 5G.
Well, I'm not a scientist, but what I've looked at is that most of the applications or the appliances that are used to put this technology out don't run at the lower frequencies that have been tested and so-called shown that it's not harmful to the body. So all the tests, all the studies that I've looked at is it's not for it doesn't prove the continuous use, and it doesn't prove at any hertz that's higher than about 8 or 10. So
Right. This is irrespective of whether it's 4G or 5G.
Sorry?
I'm asking that question. Is this intensity irrespective of whether it is 4G or 5G, or are you concerned mainly about 5G?
I don't believe that any of them have been proven safe, 4G or 5G actually. So
your comment refers to both.
It does.
Thank you. Thank you.
It does, but there's really no studies that have proven that any of it's safe.
I understand your point.
I know we are currently exposed to the 4G, but that's not even proven. And now I don't have a huge understanding of frequencies, but I have heard that going from 4G to 5G, it's a lot more dangerous.
Thank you.
Possibly.
Thank you. Any further questions for Ms. Moore? Thank you very much. We'll move then to Mahalakshmi. I can see her there from 10A Allen's Parade. Can you hear us? We can't hear you, Maha. Is Maha muted?
Hello? Hello,
Yes,
can you?
that's better. We can hear you now.
Perfect, thank you very much.
Please go ahead.
Great, thank you. So according to my research, that there are experts on electromagnetic frequencies that are saying that at this point in time, there is already too much harmful wireless radiation in our environments. And there is evidence that it damages the human body in multiple ways: reproduction, autism spectrum disorders, brain tumors. It goes on. And also these effects can influence children as they are more susceptible and more vulnerable in their growing state. So these peer-reviewed published scientific papers show that harmful effects of cell tower radiation causes a multitude of effects. Also, more low-level effects: fatigue, headache, sleep problems, anxiety. I did look at the proposal that was attached to the agenda. And in my reading, I could really only find one sentence that referred to the standards that take effect that Telstra needs to follow with these towers. And I think this is an opportunity to reassess our standards. There was no elaboration on what the current standards are and whether these standards are really in the interest of public health and safety. So I think that we really need more clarification on these standards at the current level, 4G, which experts are saying is already harmful. And we know that 5G is exponentially more powerful than 4G. So I have very serious concerns about the elevated health negative effects that could come about by allowing Telstra or other companies who may share infrastructure to enable 5G in our area, which is a high population area. Also, there is a childcare facility that is more or less across the street from the current tower. And there are many other people. There are people we've spoken to on our street that already indicate that they have experienced health effects by living close to this tower over a long period of time. So I really want to see that you're acting in our best interests to ensure the public safety for people living in this area, because I think there are far-reaching effects that people are currently experiencing, and there could be more of these effects of a more serious nature if we do allow 5G to be rolled out. I think those are my points. Happy to.
Thank you,
just-
Maha.
Mhm.
Any questions of Ms. Laxmi from the members of the panel?
I have one, Mr. Chairman. I'll
Yes,
have
Mr.
two.
Laxton.
Do you have the address of the childcare centre with you?
All I know is that the street. The street name was in the proposal, possibly Council Street or something. Yes, there's a childcare centre on Council Street.
Thank you.
There is also a hospital in the area. I think there's an aged care facility, and there's many townhouses in very close proximity.
You quoted a peer-reviewed scientific paper.
Yes.
Have you got the reference to that?
So there is a bioinitiative report, and this summarizes 3,800 peer-reviewed published studies. If you'd like me to,
can you give me the reference to that?
Would you like me to send a link? There is a very informative website that I got a lot of this information from.
I'm asking you to give us the reference.
I have a link to the source.
All right, if you could send the link to the council, please.
I
Beth,
believe
what's
the
the best
webpage.
email for that?
I got the reference from the emfsafetynetwork.org, and I can provide that link if you want to let me know which email to send it to.
Is any of the council staff there?
Yes, you can send it to the Waverley Local Planning Panel inbox.
And the email address for that?
It's WLPP.
LPP?
Waverley, yes. At waverley.nsw.gov.au. Or you can reply to the email that you were sent the invitation on.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Laxmi. Any further questions?
That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you. So the other registered speaker is Taylor Moore.
She's not on.
Not present.
I don't think so.
It's Tony Ann Moore's.
That's my
name and address.
daughter.
Your daughter, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, she's not present.
No, she's
Okay, so Kuda Zino Tizel. Is she present, please? I can see her name.
Yes, hi, I am present.
Ah, so you're Mr. Kuda Zino Giselle from Service Stream Network Construction, and you're a planning consultant on behalf of the applicant.
Yes, that is correct.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so to begin with, I guess I'd just like to start with the fact that this proposal has been present in the Waverley area in its form since the 1990s. And the Waverley Tower has been present also in the general area in different forms for almost 60 years now. So essentially, this is one of Telstra's early mobile network sites. And as such, it is a critical part of Telstra's mobile network in the area. And given the size of the tower, it delivers coverage to a lot of areas in the surrounding area. The closest Telstra installation would be a rooftop mounted installation on top of the exchange at, I think it's at Bronte Road. And this is only a four-story level building. So the way these mobile antennas work is that they need line of sight to deliver adequate coverage to the area. Therefore, the higher the antennas are mounted, the better coverage you get. So essentially, if we lost this proposal, there would be significant implications on call quality, increased dropouts, less capacity. So it is critical to ensure that we can maintain. I'd just like to add now, going on to the health impact, as I understand, this is the main issue of concern.
I don't know where the dog is coming from, but if we can remove the dog from the room, that would be very
Ian is doing that now.
Okay, please go ahead, Kuda.
Yep, okay, thanks, mate. I just wanted to add that to continuing on to the main issue of EME and health, I've noticed most of the submissions are against 5G. I'd like to remind everybody that the proposal is currently for the replacement of the tower as it stands, and currently there's only 3G and 4G technologies located. As such, the replacement monopole will only be a 3G and 4G tower at this stage. Now, Telstra are undertaking a nationwide rollout of the 5G technology. And I would like to remind people that, yes, in the future, it will be upgraded to 5G, but it is considered safe based on current research and which Telstra follows. There are no established health effects of the frequency of RF EME energy emitted by mobile base stations. Telstra follows the advice of ARPANSA, which is the Australian Radiation Protection Authority and Safety Agency, and they have a guide called the RPS3 for the safe operation of mobile base stations. It provides, I think, from up to 300 kilohertz to 300 gigahertz, and as such, this proposal is obviously covered by these. There is also the Australian Communication Media Authority, which is the ACMA. Now, they regulate all mobile base stations. They ensure that all mobile base stations are compliant with the ARPANSA standard. And we consider that Telstra's proposal in this case is compliant. We have done studies before this facility was proposed, that is in the design phase. And once the facility becomes operational, a nationally accredited tester will go out and measure RF EME that is emitted by the proposal to ensure that it is safe for people in the surrounding areas. Now, I understand that there are other studies and there is other research, and that essentially is the nature of science, is that you cannot prove something 100% without doubt, but Telstra follows widely and internationally accepted advice. The International Commission on Non-Ionizing Radiation, which is known as ICNIRP. This is an independent organization, and many countries, such as Australia, the USA and other developed countries, they follow the standards that are advised by the IGNO. The World Health Organization also has advice with regarding to 5G and other frequencies of mobile technology. And the common advice from this is that there are no established health effects. And of course, research is still being done. In Australia, here we also have the Australian Centre for Electromagnetic Bioeffects Research, which is based at the University of Wollongong, and they are currently and consistently updating their advice and updating their information. So without going on for too long, I guess my point is that Telstra does undertake their due diligence. We have also an EME report that goes with the proposal. We have points of interest that we have identified in the community which may be sensitive, such as the school in the area and other surrounding houses, where we have estimated measurements from the proposal, and they all fall well within the RF exposure levels. Essentially, visual impacts, we can see that this proposal is a replacement of an existing tower, which is much larger. It is a taller facility. It has a much more prominent visual impact, and I would like to believe that installing a new slimline monopole, which is also shorter, would result in a less of a visual impact in the area. Now, I understand people may have questions. Please go ahead. Just bearing in mind that I am a planning consultant and not an engineer, but I will try and address any issues and any panel members may have.
Thank you. So any questions from the panel members?
Well, thank you very much for, Kuda, what's your surname?
Zino Tize.
Oh, okay. And you're the planning consultant for Telstra.
Yes, I am the
Thank
planning.
you. I just needed to clarify. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Stapleton, did you have a question?
Yes, I have got a number of questions. As a planner, are you aware whether or not you will be required to make another application to convert the equipment on the tower to 5G?
Yeah, so essentially what we would do in that situation, we would have to undertake a new phase of notification, standard of which involves a public notification and a letter to council as well. And as long as we are installing the equipment under the guise of the Low Impact Facilities Determination, which is under the Telcos Act, we can go ahead and install additional 5G equipment, but we will still have to consult with the public and we will still have to consult with council.
Under the planning scheme or under some other act?
This is under the Telecommunications Act.
I'm asking about the planning scheme. In your estimation, would a new application to the Waverley Council be needed if you were going to convert the equipment to 5G?
As long as the equipment is within certain guidelines, so size-wise and protrusion over the structure, no, we would not have to submit another application with council. Okay, thank you. Now, my main question is the location of the proposed mono tower is right near the corner of the site, which is very close to the boundary of the neighbours. I'm asking why could not the pole be further back in the centre of the land you own? Well, essentially the location was chosen following an investigation which shows that there's, as you can see the size of the property, there isn't much room to move. The Telstra building occupies most of the western part of the property, and as such, this proposed location was deemed to be suitable for the purposes, given there isn't much room to work with, essentially.
Yes, but even my understanding of radiation is that it would decay exponentially with distance. And wouldn't it be better for this tower, following a precautionary principle, wouldn't it be better for this tower, if we're going to have it, to be further to the north?
So, and that would be on the north within the existing property?
Yes, it's only located 3 metres from the southern boundary.
Yeah, so the kind of distances we're speaking about it wouldn't make much of a difference. Given the tower is 40 meters in height and the equipment will be placed well above surrounding development. So that makes a difference.
I'll give you a chance to answer that again. Why is it so close to the boundary?
To be honest, that would have been an engineering issue, and I'm sure following detailed design investigations, the decision was made to place it on that exact location. I couldn't exactly answer, 100% accurately. Why?
Okay. The design of the shelters, there's 2 shelters proposed, but there's no indication of how they're constructed. What's the external material?
So the shelters are prefabricated shelters. They're steel shelters, from my knowledge.
So they'd be probably just finished in some sort of sheet steel, would they?
Yes, and they can be finished in whichever color that is requested by council.
There's a proposed condition of approval that they be painted in a neutral color. So you'd be happy with that?
Yes, we have no problems with that.
You're retaining the existing fence?
Yes, so essentially there won't be any other changes to the area unless conditioned by council.
Council's requiring CCTV coverage. Are you happy with that?
Look, I have provided a draft report to my client, Director Telstra. He is reviewing this and he will get back to me, but I'd have to get his confirmation on that.
On the drawing, have you got the drawings there?
Yes. I've got get the drawings up.
There's a drawing showing the elevation of the existing tower. It's number N20112.
Yep. That's the one. Yep.
At the base of the existing tower, there's some sort of structure that's half behind the tower or half in front. I'm not sure. What's that?
Yes, I can see there isn't an actual arrow showing exactly what that is.
Doesn't seem to show on the plan, but it's on the elevation. What is it?
Yeah. Look, I've been to the site as well, and this is quite odd. I can get confirmation from the drafter just on that one. And
I understand you're building a smaller shed, which is shown there, but it's only a bit higher than the fence. Can you see that one?
Yeah, right in the bottom right corner.
Yeah, no, bottom. Well, it's at the left-hand side of the existing tower. There's a small structure. It says existing Telstra equipment shelter. But then there's another structure that appears to be behind, which is as high as the Telstra building, or a bit higher.
Yeah, look, to be honest, that does look like an error at this point, because we are proposing to have the equipment in the 2 small shelters that are adjacent.
So, if we're worried about that, you wouldn't mind a condition saying the structure apparently shown behind the existing tower of some 3 or 4 levels high is not approved.
Look, I mean, I'd have to, without knowing exactly what it is, would it not be better for you guys to just request some more confirmation in terms of exactly what that is before you condition or finalize that?
Well, I don't know how we're going to get that from you, because we decide today, you see.
Right.
Anyway,
Look, I mean, I know definitely the proposal is for the construction of a monopole and then 2 new shelters and then the demolition of the existing lattice tower structure.
We'll see if we can deal with that. One of your other drawings is a schedule of equipment. That's drawing number N2122.
Yep.
That's it, is it? That's the equipment that you're going to install.
Yes, so those are the antennas that we're going to be installing.
And none of those are 5G.
No, none of those are 5G. If you see the sector and technology, if you see that column of the table, that tells you the technology that's being installed, and LTE 700 would be your 4G and WCDMA would be your 3G.
Okay, thanks very much.
Okay, cheers, mate.
Any further questions from the members of the panel?
Thank you.
I don't have any questions.
Thank you, Kuda.
Thank you.
So
Can
at
I-
the conclusion of the...
Can I talk or I'm not, because I'm not member of the
No,
panel?
we don't go backwards and forwards.
Okay, sure.
The protocol is that we hear all objectors, then we hear anybody from the applicant, and then at the conclusion of the public meeting, we retire and consider all of the submissions and all of the application and make a decision. And we'll do that later in the day. So thank you all for your submissions.
Sorry, Chair, I do have one question.
Yes, yes, please.
And that is to Kuda. Is there any post-monitoring of the electromagnetic radiation emitted from these towers once they're up?
Yes, so what we have is we have a nationally accredited tester who will go out to the site once it becomes operational, and they will take actual EME measurements to ensure that they are as per the EME report and the predictions.
Right. And is that publicly available then, that information?
Yeah, look, if council would like this, then yes, certainly this can be provided to you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. So we're all done, members of the panel?
Yes, thanks.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much. We'll move on then to the next matter on the agenda, which is 80 Bronte Road, Bondi Junction. And Mr. Max Scamotta is present, I can see. Mr. Scagmotta, you there? I can see you.
Do I have to click anything?
Yes, that's better. That's better.
That's better? All right,
Yes,
okay.
that's good.
Oh,
Good.
Okay.
And you are from Scagmotta Architects.
Scamata Architects, yep.
Please go ahead.
I'm here to endorse the council's recommendations, and if you have any queries or any questions for me, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Thank you, and thank you for coming along. Do the members of the panel have any matters they wish to raise with Mr. Scamata?
No, I visited the site and I'm satisfied with the report and recommendation. Yep, thank you.
I'm the same. I went past the site. I didn't have any problem with what you're proposing to do.
Any questions, Mr. Stapleton?
No.
Well, thank you for coming along. It looks like we have no questions. So at the conclusion of the public meeting, we'll adjourn and determine this application and notify our decision on the council website.
Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you very much. The next application is 2 Blenheim Street, Queen's Park. And there was a written submission from Bill Weiderberg because he couldn't attend, and we have that. Otherwise, Miss Jenny Askin, is she present?
Yes, I'm present. Can you hear me?
Hello. So for the record, your name is Jenny Askin. You're a town planner from A Square Planning on behalf of the applicant.
That's correct, yes.
Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity to address you today. I just wanted to touch on a few points that have been raised in Council's assessment report. The proposed Unit 7 at the 3rd floor provides a minimum floor to ceiling height of 2.65 at its lowest point and rises up to 2.9 at the front. The floor to ceiling height is consistent with the BCA, and modification would not be required to ensure compliance as raised in the report. It is acknowledged that the area of Unit 7 is 41 square metres, and this is not compliant with the minimum required internal area under the ADG. However, it is our contention that this unit is well laid out, and it is provided with a greater than required balcony, of which part is covered, and then can operate as a suitable indoor-outdoor space. The proposal complies with the height control of 12.5 metres, which allows for a 4-storey development. The adjoining site to the north, which has an approval for a 4-storey boarding house, and those to the south, up to number 36 Blenheim Street, have a height control of 12.5 metres. Therefore, Council envisaged new infill development to be 4-storey, and for this reason, the planning staff supported the previous application as a 4-storey proposal. I also note that the previous proposal had support from Council's Heritage Officer. The proposal provides 3 affordable housing units, and therefore a bonus FSR applies. The proposed FSR of 1.17 to 1 complies with the control of 1.21 to 1. The refusal of this application is likely to result in the loss of one of the affordable housing units. The approval provides 3 units, but reducing this to 2 would still provide compliance with the FSR and the bonus control, and therefore this would reduce the opportunity for affordable housing in a locality which is highly accessible. The bulk and scale as proposed complies with the height control, the FSR control, and therefore is consistent with the LEP development standards applicable to the site. In terms of the context, the proposed building provides an appropriate transition between the approved 4-storey boarding house to the north and the existing 2-storey development to the south. The proposal presents with the 2-storey street wall, and the upper levels are each set back greater than the level below, reducing their visual impact on the public domain. As quoted in the original DA assessment report, which was endorsed by the DBU, the proposal is considered in keeping with the character of the area, with levels above set back to improve the transition, end quote. Presentation to the street was stated as being acceptable. So we have a compliant building envelope which provides much needed affordable housing in this locality. We would therefore request that the panel reconsider the recommendation for refusal and support the 4-storey affordable housing infill development.
Thank you, Ms. Askin. Questions? Any questions from the members of the panel to Ms. Askin?
I thank you.
No.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Askin, for attending.
Okay.
And so at the conclusion of the public meeting, we will consider this matter amongst the other matters and notify our position on the council website as soon as may be possible. Thank you for your attendance.
Thank you.
So we move to 69 Anglesey Street, Bondi, and is Alex Smith present?
Yes, hello.
Hello, Mr. Smith. You're from CSA Architects on behalf of the applicant.
That's right. And I have the owner with me as well, which we had arranged.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I'll speak first. The reason that we submitted the application to review the decision is because we feel that the application of the controls in this instance were unreasonable. The basis of the approval is pretty much that we're modifying the front facade of the house in order to accommodate the car space. And if we couldn't modify the front of the house and the car space is too short, the thing is we can modify the front wall as a CDC and create the opening, which is only the subfloor area of the house. And if that was the case, the principal argument is then gone and the car length would comply. We could have done it as a 2-step process, first the CDC and then try for the DA, but we didn't think that was practical and I didn't think it would be necessary, as I was hoping that the council would agree that the strict enforcement of the controls need not be applicable in this case. Anglesey Street's already a big mishmash of all types of off-street parking, There's no consistency. Most houses have off-street parking in the front setback. And in this case, there would be no loss of on-street parking in our proposal because, as you would know, you can't park on this side of the street. Council have approved a number of examples in Tamarama Street where cars nose in under the house, at numbers 14, 12, 16. The report says that the proposal dominates the streetscape. I hope you have seen the photo montage that we submitted with the review application, because I don't think any reasonable person would say that this proposal dominates the streetscape. It in fact looks pretty much the same as the existing frontage, but with an upgraded fence. And the other thing that the photo montage demonstrates is that the proposed change to the facade isn't visible from the street. Just as it's not visible now, you can't see the subfloor area now, nor would you see it after this proposed change. So I submit to you that the changes to the front do not adversely affect the streetscape. There's no loss of on-street parking. It's a street full of similar off-street parking, and it's just a practical thing in this case. I have the owner here who would also just like to add a few words, please.
Yes, Mr. Toe, is it?
Yes. Hi, Paul. Hi, everyone.
Hello
Thanks
there.
for having. Thanks for inviting me today.
So your name is Tony Toe, and you're the owner.
Yeah, Tony Toe.
Please go ahead.
So look, there's not a lot to add from my end. We've moved in as a young budding family, so we have one child. We'll likely have another child shortly, and we didn't realise when we bought the home how many issues we'd have in terms of because we were new to parenting. You know, carrying everything that you need to carry with you. We're parking several hundred metres away. So we're finding we're having particular issues in the evening and also when it's raining. And I'm just my study currently overlooks the front of the house, and with COVID, I get to see my wife going out with my daughter every day, struggling, trying to carry everything that she's carrying. Sometimes we find it parking nearby if we're lucky, but often we're kind of parking down on Watson Street. So yeah, we'd really appreciate any reconsideration on this one.
Thank you. Any questions of Mr. Smith or Mr. Tao, the members of the panel?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have one.
Mr. Sableton?
To the owner, Mr. Toe. Do you realise this proposal? You'll only be able to park certain vehicles in that space if it was built. It's the recess is just about 2 metres deep, and some vehicles, you know, you'd hit your windscreen before you got the back end of the car behind the boundary. What's your reply to that?
Yeah, I think it's a really fair point, and look, given the challenge we've had of having to drag so much materials, we're up for buying a new car anyway shortly, and we'd look to buy a car that obviously fits comfortably in that space. And we're only going one car as a family, and we don't commute that much, so I think we'd look to accommodate that way.
It's been discussed in planning circles, you know, somehow that the planning scheme allow small car spaces, but it's sort of recognised that that might be impracticable because people would, once a car space is there, people would bring along a big car, and then the back of it would be hanging out over the footpath. So there's a reluctance to approve anything but a fully complying car space. And as well as plan dimensions, of course, this includes a height. And I looked up SUVs last night on the web, and some of them are 1.9 high, and you've only got I think 1.57.
Yes.
So you can understand our reluctance.
Could I just add on that, please, that we have checked, you know, with average car sizes, that it will accommodate pretty much all average cars. Even with SUVs, assuming you're not going to reverse in, but drive in forward, it will even accommodate those because the bonnets of these cars are still well under 1.5 high. So I definitely take your point that obviously it's not acceptable for cars to stick out over the footpath, especially in this street because it's such a narrow footpath. But I don't think that situation will arise, given that cars will be able to drive in forward and pretty much all cars would be able to fit there.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions for Mr. Smith or Mr. Town?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your submissions.
Thank you.
So at the conclusion of the public meeting, we will adjourn and determine this matter and notify our decision on the council website as soon as may be possible. Thank you very much. That moves us to 7 Lancaster Road, and there's Mr. Mark Oxenham present.
Yes, hi.
Hello there. Your name is Mark Oxenham from Castle Peak Architecture on behalf of the applicant.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, please go ahead.
So thanks for allowing me to speak. We're the applicant, as you know. Really, we endorse the council planning report and the recommendation for approval. And really just here to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Oxenham. Well, thank you for coming along. In relation to this matter at Lancaster Road, do members of the panel have any issues or to raise with Mr. Oxenham?
I've got a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
The proposal does include some limited work to the front alignment of the garage and steps, and they're not on your land, they're on council land. I was wondering if you could confirm whether or not you got the owner's consent to submit this DA.
The owner being council. I don't think we do. No.
Well, can I just mention that in the recommended conditions of consent, in number 2, general modifications, it says works outside of lot 18, 7 Lancaster Road, Dover Heights, are not in capital letters and underline permitted. This includes works to the front fence, external stairs and bin storage area.
That's right. And we're happy with that condition.
Okay.
Thank you.
Further questions from members of the panel?
No, thank you. You're happy with the conditions, Mr. Oxenham?
Yes, thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Oxenham.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for attending. I think that's all the speakers that we have in the meeting. So I will close the public meeting at 4 minutes to 1 with thanks to all of the speakers this morning, this afternoon, I should say. Thank you. I'll close the public meeting now.
Thank you.
Thank you.